The SureFire XC3 pistol light is the newest pistol light option from SureFire. So this is going to be a compact pistol light, and if you're thinking it looks pretty familiar, well, you're probably thinking of the Streamlight TLR7. So this is going to have a very similar form factor. In fact, it's going to fit in the same holsters. It's going to have a relatively same output, but there are a couple of things that are a little bit different with this light that I want to go over with you guys. Now in this video, what we're going to do is just go over some of the basic features of this light, and then we're going to compare it directly to the Streamlight TLR7 and see if the price difference is really worth the money. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the button activation primarily. That's the most attractive feature of the TLR7. We're going to look at the form factor up close and personal just to see if there are any noticeable differences, and then we're going to just see how does this light perform on a flood basis, so how well does the light spread out while using it, and then we're also going to see how far the light throws in comparison to the Streamlight TLR7. Now getting into some of the basic features of the light, what you're gonna get out of the box is pretty simple. You're gonna get the flashlight itself, and you're gonna get two keys. So basically you're gonna have a universal key and a Picatinny key. Now the cool thing about this light that I think is a significant upgrade is how much easier it is to change the keys out. So all you're gonna do to change out the keys is rotate the head from locked to unlocked, and then one more turn past that, and then it just pops off. So it doesn't thread on like the TLR7 head, but once you do that, the key just slides right off of it, and then you can replace it with the key that you need for whatever pistol you're using. And then to put the light back on, the light head back on, you're just gonna do the opposite motion there. But once you take the head off, the battery comes out as well. So if you need to change out your battery, that is how you do it. So first thing we're gonna do here is we're actually gonna put a fresh battery in the light, just so we know we're working with some fresh batteries when we do the comparison. And when you put the head back on, like I said, it's very simple. You just do the opposite of what you just did, and now the light works. So very simple there. Attaching it to the pistol is basically the same as the TLR7, just the screw head is on the opposite side. And then everything else about the pistol light is gonna look very familiar if you're familiar with Streamlight's option. So if you're unfamiliar with the form factor of this pistol light, which I'm sure all of you are, but just in case, this is basically going to line up exactly with a Glock 19. So it's almost like this light was made for a Glock 19, so it's completely flush with the front of the gun. So if you have a Glock 19 or a Glock 45 or a pistol of another manufacturer that is the same length, you're going to have a flush fit with your pistol. So that's really nice, so that when you are concealed carrying a pistol of this size, it doesn't feel like you're carrying anything excessively large when just to have a pistol light on your gun. So sometimes pistol lights protruding past the firearm makes the gun feel a lot bigger than it actually is, but with the form factor of this light, you don't even notice a difference. So that's pretty cool. Now, before we get into shooting, the last thing we're going to mention are the switches. Like I said, the Streamlight TLR7's most attractive feature are the switches. You can apply downward pressure onto the switch. They're very easy to get to. And as you apply downward pressure, you can mitigate recoil while shooting the pistol. And in momentary fashion, all pistol lights, you can just turn on, leave on, shoot, maintain normal recoil control, but then you have to turn it off. There's very few pistol lights out there that you can just hold down momentary while maintaining a good grip. But the XC3 is another option now. The buttons are pretty similar to the TLR7 when it comes down to just the shape and design and how easy it is to reach them. But like I said, we're going to test them side by side to see if there's an actual noticeable difference. Maybe it's better, maybe it's not. Now, just a little bit of bona fides with this pistol light itself. I've been carrying this light for quite a while. I've been carrying one of these since before they were released, a prototype version, and I have found it to be a very nice pistol light. So, but I'll talk about more of that as we get through the video. So first thing we're gonna do is we're going to test side by side how fast, how consistent we can activate the switches on this comparatively to TLR7. Ran that plate rack. We're about 12 yards away or so with both of the lights. The only real difference, so we're looking at active button activation. So just to be clear there. So with the Streamlight, the buttons are a little less comfortable per se. So sorry, I'm going down to pick this up. With the XC3, they don't feel as sharp. So I'm able to drive my thumb into this button just a little bit like I said, more comfortably. It just doesn't hurt as much. I can notice like significant discomfort when I'm activating the Streamlight TLR7 switches comparatively to the XC3. Additionally, I feel like I have to reach my thumb farther into the switch on the Streamlight versus the XC3, and I'm actually catching my trigger finger on it when I'm activating, and that's pretty consistent. So yes, I have tested this light a lot more than what you're seeing on video. Like, we can't film everything, and that's just been a consistent outcome. So just kind of validating it here through this short test here. So for button activation, I actually do like the SureFire's buttons a little bit better. So now we're just gonna go on to the next test, and we're gonna test how the light does with flood. And we're just gonna do a little target transition drill to demonstrate that. Yeah, so just continuing the discussion real quick about the buttons. Now, I haven't shot the Streamlight yet for this drill, but these buttons are noticeably more comfortable. I will say there's a sharp point on the TLR7 buttons that is just not here on the XC3. So I feel like I can just mash down the button, fight recoil a little bit better, and it doesn't actually hurt my thumb at all. So the hardest thing that we're dealing with out here in demonstration purposes is we have some lights just so you can see what we're filming. That makes looking through the smoke a little bit harder, so I apologize if I'm shooting a little bit slow. I'm already a slow shooter, it's just making it even more slow. So, all right, let's do the Streamlight next. Yeah, first things first, again, last time I'm going to talk about the buttons, but SureFire XC3 definitely more comfortable than the Streamlights. I think it's just this really sharp point here on the Streamlight buttons. Now, I'm being very nitpicky here. These buttons are still the standard out there. I think the only buttons that are better than these are the XC3s from any light. But when it comes down to what we're kind of testing here is the lumens, so the flood of the light, the SureFire seems to be a little bit better. So what I've noticed is when I am shooting, whether it's rifle or pistol, at night, we have that big cloud of smoke produced from the firearm. If you have a higher candela light, it's going to reflect off of that smoke a little bit brighter, making it a little bit more difficult to see through it if you're staying stationary. For whatever reason, the SureFire just seems to punch through that smoke a little bit better. On the first run with the Streamlight, I couldn't even see through the smoke. I could very slightly see the steel, but I think the SureFire is just a little bit better when it comes to the flood aspect. Now, when it comes down to performance, like I said, I don't want to just repeat what's on the product page in this video. You can look through all the statistics of both of the lights, or all the specifications, I should say. They're basically the same. There's only a 50 lumen difference between the SureFire and the Streamlight in favor of the SureFire, but the candela is about 1,000 stronger with the SureFire, which you're probably not going to notice the difference. There's honestly going to probably be more variance per specific light that you get. Now, on that note, every light that is made from across the companies, there's going to be a range of performance from lumens and candela. With how close the numbers are between the lights, you may get a Streamlight that performs better than a SureFire, or vice versa. All I have to say is you're probably not going to notice the difference. So what we're looking for here is just the quality of the output. Now, there are flashlights like Mod Light that put a very clean output out that you notice and just looks a lot better than other flashlights. So that's what we're kind of looking for here, is how, I guess, clean and less dirty of an output is there. I think the SureFire definitely has an advantage. Now, you may be looking at the Streamlight and be like, oh, that's a really old one. This is a TLR7A. They've come out with updated models since. I've compared these lights side by side, and I don't notice much of a difference. There's a reason why I continue to carry this one, because I just don't think there's hardly any difference. I think my particular TLR7A has a really good output, so I think it's a good test, a good light to compare against the XC3. So now what we're going to set a target up with a little bit of distance. We're just going to see how easy it is to see that target at about 50 meters or so with both the lights. So I'm basically shooting as fast as I can actually see through the smoke. We have a little photonic barrier with some lights that we got going on over there, kind of where we're set up. And I can't see the targets from here without illuminating my pistol light. So having to push through a little bit of photonic barrier to see the targets. And the Streamlight's struggling a little bit. It's about as fast as I can shoot it, basically. So let's see how the SureFire does. Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know what it is, but I feel like the XC3 just punches through the smoke a little bit better. We're shooting, those are about 40 yards or so. So yeah, I think that did a little bit better job. So all I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna do the exact same thing, but I'm gonna go constant on with both the pistol lights, and then just kind of give you guys a quick opinion on how easy is it to go constant on and then quickly turn it off when I want to. So the switches work exactly the same as the TLR7. So if you hold down the switch, it'll be momentary, but if you just click it and release quickly, it'll be constant on. So let's see how fast we can manipulate the switches that way. Pretty easy, as expected. Let's run the same thing with the Streamlight just for the sake of it. Yeah, I'll actually give it to the TLR7 when it comes down to that quick, just tap on and tap off. I think actually the more abrupt, sharp edges with the switches makes it a little bit easier for that, but it's very nitpicky. If you were to blindfold someone who's never run either one of these lights, they probably wouldn't notice much of a difference, to be honest. But just give a slight edge to the Streamlight TLR7 on that one. So now what we're gonna do is just gonna give some final opinions on the XC3, and that'll be it. Now the obvious elephant in the room is the fact that the SureFire XC3 is so similar to the Streamlight TLR7. That is why we did a quick comparison of the two lights. Now, the ultimate question to answer is if the SureFire XC3 is worth the additional money comparatively to the Streamlight TLR7. So the Streamlight TLR7 is between $150 and $160 depending on the color. The XC3, as of the filming of the video, is $270. So that's a significant price increase. Now, like we mentioned, the performance between the lights, when you look at these specifications, are extremely similar. You're not gonna basically notice the difference between the two. So really what it comes down to, in my opinion, are the switches. The fact that the lights fit in the same holster, they have the exact same form factor. There's really not much difference other than how does the light actually perform when you're trying to use it. And in my opinion, I think the XC3 switches are slightly better, but if that's worth the additional $110, $120, that's gonna be totally up to you. Now, when you look at the lights side by side, the XC3 is made, it appears and feels to be made at a much higher quality comparatively to the Streamlight. And I say much, and I'm not trying to exaggerate. I do think the SureFire XC3 feels and looks to be just of a higher quality than the Streamlight. So I have been carrying this light for a while. This is my personal Glock 19. I still have the Streamlight TLR7 on it, but I was carrying an XC3 on it for quite a while, and I will be purchasing one of these to replace this light if or when it dies. So hopefully this video is helpful. I know probably not the most appeasing answer out there, but it's probably what you expected. With how small these lights are, with the same form factor, all of these things considered, you're not gonna notice much of a difference. So if the price is worth it to you, it's worth it to you, but that's gonna be totally up to you. Hopefully this was helpful. Appreciate your guys' time watching. If you have any additional questions regarding this light, shoot us an email at team@trex.arms.com and we'll be happy to help.